Hey there, it's Dr. Renee Pleasant of Pleasant Leadership Consulting, where we inspire your leadership freedom. So I'm back today with another edition in our series called Leadership. And today I want to talk to you about 9 common leadership styles and how they impact leadership in your organization. You may be one of these 9 leadership styles, or you may be trying to find your leadership style, and this video may help you with just that. So let's go ahead and jump in. So the first style we're going to talk about is called the autocratic leadership style. So the key characteristics of an autocratic leader is that they are decisive, and this style works wonderful when you need quick decisions. The leader holds all the power in the organization. They're decisive. They are going to be the ones that get things done. There is no moss growing under the rocks of this leadership style. They take action people. The disadvantage of this, there's not really any trust with the followers for this type of leader. So there are some pros to having an autocratic leadership. As I mentioned before, they are going to be very decisive. They're going to take action. They're going to be super quick to make those decisions. They're going to be wonderful when you have a conflict situation. They're going to come in. They're going to take charge. They follow the rules. So they're not going to just be these mavericks that just come in. They are rule followers. They are highly structured, and they operate from a goal setting standpoint. Like I said, they're not mavericks, okay? So you can trust them to make the best decision for the organization. However, there are some cons to their leadership style, and that is they don't really have a lot of creativity. There's low morale because there's not that relationship between the leader and the follower. They don't like connectivity or creativity. It is their way and their way only. They know what is best. They go in, they take care of things. They're decisive. There's no kumbaya. There's no bonding there. They are there to do a job, and they get that job done. You can trust them to do what's best for the organization according to how they see the big picture. So our next leadership style is the bureaucratic leader, and you probably figured this one out. The bureaucratic leader is the one who favors policies. They're the ones that favors procedures. They're ones who favor rules. They excel in a well-organized environment. They are not afraid to delegate, but they're going to delegate to people who are like-minded, people that they know are going to follow the procedures to the letter, who are going to follow policy and follow rules. They know that they can delegate to like-minded people. They're going to get results, and they have accountability because they have a network or a structure that's in place. They have no tolerance or no room for new ideas. So if you're a creative person who likes spontaneous ideas and likes to bounce ideas off of people, and you want to go outside the box, you like to think outside the box, you will not excel with a bureaucratic leader. Mm-mm. Oil and water. You two are not going to get along well. It's not going to be a happy work environment for the two of you. So with all that rigidity and all that lack of flexibility, you may be asking yourself, well, where does a bureaucratic leader excel? Well, they excel when that rigid leadership style and that need for efficiency is strongest. And where better do you need rigidness and lack of flexibility than someplace in maybe like a manufacturing industry where you need no change, when you need to have production coming at you, where you need efficiency. So when you need predictability, you might want a bureaucratic leader in an industry like that. So being a bureaucratic leader is not necessarily a horrible thing. There is a place and a time for that. There is a place when you want something that is predictable, when you don't want creative ideas all the time, when you want to maximize efficiency. So the con of being a bureaucratic leader is obviously lack of creativity. Not everybody's going to want to follow the rules. There's going to be a lack of competition, and there's a slow development for personal growth. So there is a time and a place for it, and there's a place for followers and the leader. So if your followers are more creative based and they want to spread their wings, it's probably not a good mix to put those free thinking followers with a bureaucratic leader. So keep that in mind, followers, as you are looking for your next leader to work under, and leaders, think about that as you are selecting your followers. Now, the next leadership style is polar opposite. They are the charismatic leader. They are confident. They have a personality that is influences large groups of people. They have high expectations, um, and they have a high expectation for competences, and they act as a role model, influencing their followers. So we have made a huge turnaround in our leadership styles from going from bureaucratic to charismatic. Now, these charismatic leaders, not only are they influential, you would expect them to use their power for good, and they do. They use it to create a positive change. So they encourage teamwork, they encourage collaboration, they're soliciting opinions from their employees all the time. They're motivating them, they're inspiring them. Um, they do not expect anything less of their employees than they are willing to give themselves. Like I said, they are role models, and they expect high, I mean, super high expectations of their employees, but they're not willing to expect anything of their employees that they're not willing to give them of themselves. So that they bring a lot of high energy to a team. I mean, a lot of high energy. It is super intense when you work underneath a charismatic leader. Now, some of the cons that a lot of charismatic leaders are thought to be narcissistic, and well, let's just call it for what it is. They are. They are super narcissists. So with that, they can often be viewed as shallow and self-centered. And one of the biggest faults of charismatic leaders is that they overpromise and they underperform because they get so caught up in that hype, and they have a hard time separating. But you really have to delve into the charismatic leader. Sometimes they get a bum rap because if I said it once, I said it multiple times here. If you're listening, they have high expectations and they do deliver. But sometimes in all that hype that they get caught up in, that's where that over promise and over deliver comes in. It just takes them a little bit longer to deliver on that. So that's when they kind of get that bum rap of being the salesman, the cheesy salesman, and they overpromise and underdeliver. They do have high expectations. It just takes them a little bit longer to kind of fulfill them. So be aware and know what you're getting into with the charismatic leader. They get really caught up in the hype. They get caught up in the excitement of the inspiration. They will deliver. It just takes them a little bit longer because they get so caught up in that infectious cycle of the hype. So our next leadership style is coaching, and coaching is one of the leadership styles where the fruit takes the longest to see. You Coaching is the style where the leader spends time with employees and works in small increments to show improvement in the long run. And in order to be a great coach, speaking in the leadership style, you must have empathy and trust. Those two pillars are critical in leadership coaching. Um, and a lot of people will walk into a leadership style with the intent of doing coaching, and they lack empathy. Therefore, they can't build trust with their followers. So this is of all the leadership styles, coaching is the one where it takes the longest to show the fruit of your labor, but it has the biggest return on your followers. My favorite thing about coaching leadership is that it promotes a healthy environment, but it doesn't happen overnight. Like I said before, it is one of the leadership styles that takes the longest to bear fruit. And how you do that is you start in small increments by giving constructive criticism with the intent of helping your followers to grow. So, whenever you give somebody constructive criticism, you're you have to do it in such a way because you're giving them something that is not well received, and that involves trust. So you have to deliver that, like I said, with empathy. But if you do it well and you do it in a timely manner and you do it in such a way that is a skilled way that gives them skills to build themselves up, you are in essence creating future leaders. So that as a leader is the best gift you can give to your organization and to your profession as a whole. Now, the con of coaching leadership is that it's time intensive. It is so time intensive because it's not a skill that you can just teach and in 30 days you're going to see an immediate increase or an immediate improvement. Not all employees are going to embrace constructive criticism. Oh, no, 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 no. Not at all. And not all leaders can deliver constructive criticism in a way that it's well received. To be a coach, you have to have your own style, and you have to have a relationship in which you deliver that criticism. You have to be super competent in the skills in which you're coaching in, and then you have to be skilled in the way in which you deliver that. So it is a very time intensive process to nurture somebody and to grow them. And then you may not even be in a position to see the skills that you are developing, that you are discipling into the next leader. So you may not even see the fruits of your labor for years to come or for another leadership generation to come. So you have to build skills blindly on the faith that you are building future leaders and that they will too disciple and build future leaders. So it is a skill that you are taking on in faith that they will go forth and build future leaders as well. But there is nothing more rewarding than helping someone become a better employee, to be a better leader, and then helping them to help somebody else. Our next leadership style is the democratic leader. And their strength in a leadership style is that they bring equality in the workplace. And they do this by seeking out follower input before they make any decision whatsoever. So the strengths of a democratic leadership style are that they build strong teams. They do this because they are supportive of diverse ideas. Remember, they solicit the input of other people. So that means that they are increasing the staff production. They are bringing forth an awareness of the company values and job satisfaction because they are asking their employees. They're always asking their employees for input. So that is one of the strongest things about a democratic leader. Now, there are some cons to having a democratic leadership style. One is that not all opinions are valued, and there's rarely a lack of expertise. When you're always asking everybody's opinion, it's hard to be one centralized expert. You're going to have a lot of people who know a little bit about everything. And bottom line, it's ineffective in a crisis. We'll just use that basic elementary type example. In a fire drill, you do not have time to query and ask everybody what's the best way out of a building. In a time of crisis, you need one leader who can make a decision. You need one expert who can make a decision, and you don't always have time to get the democratic approach of asking everybody's input. Is it important to have your stakeholders' input? Absolutely. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But do they have to have input on everything? Well, in a time of crisis, that slows down the decision-making process if you have to take in everybody's decision, i.e. the fire drill. So our next leadership style is called the laissez-faire, and it gets a bum rap sometimes. So the key characteristic here is that the leader puts trust in their followers' abilities, and it is critical that this entire leadership style operates on constructive feedback. In fact, that's what the whole leadership style revolves around, is constructive feedback. So the way that this leadership style is intended to work is that there is no micromanagement and that employees can work at their own pace in their own way. So they seek out their own need for personal growth, their own need for development, and they work faster that way because they are able to make their own decision making. That's the way it was intended to work. And if you remember me saying, it was based upon critical or constructive feedback. However, the con of the system is what it's most known for. And the cons include having passive leaders And because there were no clear goals, there was too much freedom given to the employees. There was incompetent team members, and they were considered to they being the workers were considered to have too much freedom, and the leaders were became too passive. But here's what I think happened, and why this leadership style has gotten such a negative rap. I think we lost sight of the constructive feedback. I think leaders stopped hiring qualified team members who were independent enough to seek out their own personal learning and their own personal development, and were unable to work independently. Now, I do agree with the con that there, with an absence of team building and isolation, because we are human by nature and we crave and need human interaction, that some people were not designed for this work environment. So I think it kind of this leadership style can implode upon itself. So I will give you that, and I think that without the right employees, it can implode. But I think that the reason why this leadership style does not work successfully is because sometimes we don't match the right employee style with the right leadership style. So if you have this type of leader and you don't match the employees who are able to seek out their own in professional development, and they are able to work on their own, you are going to have a horrible work environment. So again, like any of these that I've mentioned before, if you don't have the right leadership style with the right followers, you're going to have a less than stellar work environment. The next type of leadership style is called servant leader. And it is wonderful if you're looking to build respect, trust, loyalty, or if you want to increase your culture in your community. This is the style that you should seek out. So, the servant leader are great listeners, and they are notorious for understanding the leader's strengths and the leader's weaknesses, and they build upon that. In this leadership style, the servant leader seeks out the follower's opinion. They work to build up their followers' strengths and help them to feel to be a valued member of the organization. They promote ownership and responsibility among their followers so that they are a united team. They're going to build up the morale, and they're really going to create this team mentality that they believe in their core. Sometimes people look at servant leaders and they view them as weak leaders, and that is a misconception. And sometimes people think because the leader is working so closely with the follower, they view the leader to be incompetent. Um, Also, because the servant leader will seek the follower's opinion, they also feel that the leader is incompetent at making decisions. And again, that's not true. It's more of a shared decision making process. Next, we have a transactional leadership style, and this is a great leadership style for large corporations. So, what they do is they use goal setting and they communicate that with their followers. And so, they set a goal and then they match that goal in order to motivate the employees with a reward or recognition system. Transactional leadership is very successful, and it's successful because it appears to be fair to everybody. It's very clear, it's short term, it's achievable, and it is a very clear structure for everyone. Now, some of the cons for this system is that, well, it's rewards based motivation. Some people are not in favor of that because it discourages creativity. And it also lacks relationship building between the leader and the follower, and well, it just lacks long-term goals because all the goals are short, attainable goals. We are at our last leadership style, and that's transformational. And transformational is the style that you want to bring in when you're looking for something totally fresh, something totally new, and it requires you to step out of your comfort zone. And it's all about new perspectives. So the key to transformational leadership is it's all about change. It is proponent to change. It gives total freedom to your team members. It promotes creativity, development, learning new skills. It strongly encourages. It's all about just turning that apple cart upside down and just starting new. It is exciting. It's fresh. It is just invigorating. The con is that sometimes in the transformational leadership, you're so busy looking at the big picture that, well, you kind of overlook the details, and that can be problematic. Likewise, when your employees have so much freedom, that's a little risky. Um, and then sometimes your employees get burnt out because you're going at such a fast pace, there's so much change going around, and well, it just happens. If you do not have regular feedback in this leadership style, it will be detrimental to your whole process. So please remember that if you are doing transformational leadership, please incorporate feedback in your leadership. Well, that concludes this week's video with 9 leadership styles. I hope that this helps you to figure out maybe your leadership style, or help you to figure out, well, 9 new leadership styles if you didn't know them. Please come back and join us next week for another edition here on YouTube, Leadership University. If we can be of any assistance to you, please contact us at www.pleasantleadership.com or at 813-412-5663. Until next week's video, I hope that every day you have is a stellar day. Go forth and be a great example to your people.